Narcissists love to manipulate you. Maybe you've been involved with a narcissist or a toxic person and you've started to notice over a period of time that they absolutely love to manipulate another person. Hi, if you guys are new here, my name's Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness, growth, healing, and change concerning narcissism and narcissistic abuse. I'm the founder of Raw Motivations, the creator of the NARC app, and your guide in the 45-day Clarity Challenge that you can access at claritychallenge.net. If you like what you see here in some of the videos that we talk about narcissism, narcissistic abuse, some of my journey about narcissism, then please subscribe. Would love to have you be a part of the healing community here and to be able to see when we produce new videos or when we go live or anything like that. So please subscribe, hit the little notifications so you can get notified whenever we drop a new video. Well, today we're going to be talking about narcissists manipulating other people. And oftentimes when I refer to this, we're talking about how narcissists really do love how to manipulate people because it provides something for them. It makes them feel better about themselves. It makes it they get what they want, and so why not? Like, that's kind of the idea. Well, today I want to talk to you about 4 different tactics used to manipulate. This is not comprehensive. There is a lot of other tactics out there. These are just 4 different ones that I wanted to bring to your attention today to talk through and to make sure that you understand what's actually going on. Well, when we're talking about manipulation, it's hard to manipulate another person if they have a lot of other influences in their lives. If you have someone that's trying to manipulate you, but you have someone else in your world saying, hey, this doesn't look right. This person seems to be, X, Y, and Z. That's hard for a narcissist a lot of times to manipulate you. So that's why one of the first aspects that I want to talk about with manipulation is isolation. Breaking you away from your friends and from your family. Trying to make sure that you don't have those positive influences in your life. So many times a friend or a family member or a coworker could speak into your life some truth of like, wait a second, this is not what it seems. This is not good. And as a result, the narcissist will try to make sure that you are away from that person so you don't see that truth and understand that something's wrong. Now, typically a narcissist isn't going to come to you and say, hey, don't go hang out with that person. That's not acceptable. This isn't happening anymore. It's normally a lot more subtler than that. And typically, you'll have the small moments of a narcissist taking up all of your time, making sure that there's not a chance for you to breathe with anybody else, but you're spending all your time with that person. Now, at the beginning of the relationship, that can seem really amazing. That can seem super connected. That can seem like you are connected or the best or soulmates are meant to be. But sometimes it's actually used as a way to control you even more. Oftentimes people will go and be with friends or family and come home and they have to deal with the silent treatment. They have to deal with that silent rage of like, you did something wrong. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to talk to you about it, but I am going to make sure you know, and I punish you by that. Oftentimes it'll be the huge drama that'll transpire. Sometimes when you're at an event, when you're out with friends, or sometimes when you get home. Either way, the goal is to put the power dynamic back in play so that you know who's in charge. So you know what is going on and what you're supposed to do. A narcissist wants to bring you to a place where you're isolated so that they can control and manipulate you even more. Now, like I said, a lot of times it's not going to be that they say no. Sometimes it'll be these small digs to try to get you to start to doubt the validity of the friendship or the relationship of the people around you. They'll start to use triangulation. Like, hey, did you see what they said? Can you believe that they actually said that to me? Look at this text that they sent me. All these different things showing that they're not comfortable around the people that you're around. Or that they need more attention of I thought we were going to be together. I thought you wanted to be connected with me. I thought all these different things can play towards the aspect of isolation without saying that isolation piece. So isolation, one of them. How I've kind of referred to it a little bit is putting that power dynamic back so you see who is actually in control. With that, there is an aspect that happens in a lot of narcissistic relationships that people don't realize. And that's the idea of silent training. Now, when I'm talking about silent training, it's like this idea of like inferred rules or like operating standards that you have to comply with. It's not always put out there of like, hey, do this or don't do this. It's, hey, make sure that this happens. Like, it's a small, subtle shift. Now, sometimes this is like triangulation. I'm so glad that we don't have disagreements because my last partner, we disagreed all the time. Slowly training you to be like, wait a second, if we disagree, then I'm going to be reduced to the aspect of their last partner. I'm going to be put in that place, and I don't want to be there because of how they talk about their last partner, so I need to make sure I don't disagree. You see, the goal with this is to train the other person what is allowed in the relationship without forcing that on them and without telling them that that's what they're doing. By saying, hey, I'm so glad we don't disagree, like another relationship that's showing you and subtly like training you, hey, this is something you better not do. Over and over, we see times and examples of narcissists that use small phrases, small subtleties to manipulate you into believing a reality that they want you to believe or a scenario that makes you respond or react a certain way so that they're still in control of the whole situation. Now, when they pit you against certain people or the idea of you being better or less than another person, oftentimes that's referred to as triangulation. Especially when you have no clue of what's going on or you have no clue of what the other person actually said or actually did. This happens a lot with narcissists in new relationships talking about previous relationships. Well, in diving into some of this aspect of subtle training, the idea is like to train you what's allowed, and it's talking about like compliance. Like they want to get your compliance. They want to get you to respond, to react in a certain way. It's very subtle. It's like training. It's like training a puppy in one sense. Like it's very subtle. It's like, oh, you did that wrong. Yeah, no, I'm not going to talk to you now. Like, oh, you did this. Okay, this isn't allowed. Without actually coming out and saying, hey, this is what happened. Okay, maybe sometimes they'll ignore you when they're apart. They'll start ghosting. The responses will change, like a lot of different things that are very, very subtle that for most people, they'd be like, what's your problem? Like, why is that big of a deal? And a lot of times this happens in covert narcissistic relationships. And a lot of times people feel crazy because they're like, I don't understand what's going on. It seems this way. And you tell someone else and they're like, what are you talking about? Because it's so subtle. All right, well, the third one I wanted to talk to you today about with manipulation is the quick change. Okay, narcissists will change fast for you. Typically, they're going to change really fast for you at the end of the relationship. One thing that's interesting is going through the holidays, I have less and less people that are contacting me for one-on-ones to help them process some of this. Now, some of it's just busy. Life is busy. Holidays are busy. My therapist said an interesting thing the other day. She was like, you know why you're probably down with having clients helping them through narcissistic abuse? It's because right now in the holidays, all the narcissists are trying to behave. They're trying to put on their best face so they can show up to Christmas, so they can be there for holidays, so they can bring that person back in. I was like, that makes so much sense. Like I talk about that, but it wasn't something I was thinking about. Oftentimes in the holidays, you'll see a change. You'll also see a change at the end of the relationship. Because at the end of the relationship, they're like, what do I need to do to be able to keep this person or to save face? Sometimes people will be ready to walk out the door and all of a sudden the narcissist is like, please, I'm going to change. I'm going to get better. And they start begging you and all these different things. And that is only put there so that they feel better about themselves. You need to understand how self-serving a lot of the things narcissists actually do. When you're walking out the door after a 5-year relationship and you're like, I'm done. And the narcissist is like, no, please stay. I'm going to change. They had all the time to change. They had all the arguments. They had the frustration. They had the therapy, whatever they might have already had. They had that chance. And sometimes you see a lot of changes happen right at the very end. And it's not because they had this epiphany and all of a sudden they know exactly what they're supposed to do. No, it's because they actually knew what they were supposed to do the entire time. The problem is, in knowing what they were supposed to do the entire time, they chose to withhold that because they knew it was something that you wanted. And then when the relationship's on the line, it's like, oh, My old manipulations aren't going to work. Let me try this to be able to stay in their lives. You need to be really careful about that when we're talking about the narcissist changing at the end of the relationship. Well, oftentimes the narcissist will come across as a victim. And so the fourth one I want to talk to you about is the idea of like saving the broken person. Okay, you have a narcissist that played the victim and is like, oh, I need this to be able to help. Like they did this to be able to keep you. Like they did this to be able to manipulate you. You know, typically we talk about narcissists, they love image, they love all this aspects. Why show a negative side? Like, why look bad to another person? Well, the thing is, it's all about attention and how that attention can be twisted in the narcissist's mind to be admiration. It's really wild. It's really wild how it twists, but it twists so easy. So the idea of like, woe is me, like I'm the victim, you know, I've had all these hard things happen, you know, my partner is awful, and then the other person's like, oh my gosh, like I'm so sorry to hear that. And then in my mind, it's like, whoa, okay, this person likes me, this person's giving me attention, this makes me feel good, pumps everything up. It all switches in the mind. And that switch in the brain is like so easy, but it makes that attention, positive, negative, however it is, switch to be a good thing to try to pump up the ego. Last but not least, if you're dealing with a narcissist, if you're dealing with a narcissist that is changing and you're like, wait a second, what's actually happening? Or that's manipulating different ways, you have to understand there's a lot of dangerous effects. CPTSD, different physical effects, many different side effects of being with a toxic person. I want to encourage you, today is the day to be able to take back your power. I want to invite you today to come on into the Clarity Challenge. It is a 45-day intensive challenge to help you grow, heal, and change, to help set up new habits, new thought process, new patterns to be able to break free from the narcissist and gain back your power, your clarity, and move you forward into healing, growth, and change like you've never had before. Sign-ups right now are limited going into January 2023. We're super excited. Make 2023 a brand new year for you and to rediscover you from that toxic person and that toxic abuse. Join up today at claritychallenge.com.